ushawahi kopa pesa za serikali za Hustler Fund? Na je, ushaifaidika kwa njia yoyote? Ndio maana this morning tunakukaribisha ukuwe part of this amazing conversation. Tunakuuliza, have you ever benefited from the Hustler Fund? Utuambie this morning, je, ushaikopa shilingi ngapi? Na ulipokopa, ulipewa kwanza? Na ulipopewa, ulibenefit kwa njia gani? Alright, tuambie this morning, then I shall be sampling your feedback in a few. Nisikie, have you ever benefited from Hustler Fund? Mimi nishawaambia kwamba nilikopa zangu 2,000 na nitakuwa nalipa siku ya leo. Alright, but before that, wacha nikwambie Thika Road inakaa vipi asubuhi ya leo mtazamaji. Kumbuka, hii ni barabara ambayo inatumika na Wakenya wengi sana. As I always say every day in the morning, this is one of the busiest road in Nairobi, Kenya. I mean, mtazamaji, ni barabara ambayo inatumika na Wakenya wengi mamilioni, na hali ilivyo katika barabara hii mtazamaji, as you can see, kuna msongamano wa magari umeweza kupile up from Kasarani kusonga mbele kabisa. Alright, kuna msongamano lakini sio mkali sana. Just to update you kwamba kama unatumia hii barabara ya Thika Road, anza kutoka mapema, manake jenzio tunasema kwamba mapema ndio best. Ndio jam imeanza kupile up na imeanzia pale roundabout ya Kasarani Police Station. Hapo ndio jam imeanzia na imeanza kupile up pole ukisonga mbele kidogo. Lakini on the other parts mambo yako shwari kabisa mtazamaji. On the other parts of Thika Road hakuna shida yoyote na mambo yako best kabisa mtazamaji. Kuhakikisha kwamba kama unatumia hii barabara ya Thika Road, anza kutoka mapema ndo usiweze kukosana na mdosi wako. Uandike email, ulikuwa wapi, mbona umechelewa, and other stories. Just to make the story short, toka mapema ndio uweze kufika kazini kwa wakati ambao unafaa. Alright, Kasarani Mwiki Road pia mambo yako shwari kabisa. Alright, Kasarani Mwiki Road, I can see on this side ya Kasarani Mwiki Road, iko wapi Kasarani, nimeona hapa, ndio hii hapa, mambo yako shwari kabisa. Kasarani Mwiki Road, barabara za Kamiti pia ziko poa kabisa mtazamaji. Lakini pia kuna jam kidogo katika barabara ya Kamiti Road, ndio imeshika kidogo karibu na maeneo ya Lumumba Drive the other side, lakini mambo sio mabaya sana. Just utoke mapema na uweze kutafuta alternative way ndio usiweze kuchelewa kazini mtazamaji. Make sure in case unatumia barabara Thika Road, chukua namba ya simu iko hapo chini, save your number ya WhatsApp. Ukisha save, nirekodie picha, nirekodie video, nitumie picha, uniambie Tony, mimi unajuaje mimi na ile ninatumia barabara, okay? Na hivi ndivyo hali ilivyo. Ukishanitumia, nitarudi hapa nikufahamishe jinsi barabara inavyokaa, na kazi yangu kama kawaida, it is just to act as an intermediary between you and your boss. Hapana, tambua mimi kazi yangu sitaki kukosana na mdosi wako. Alright, I'll be back nikuambie barabara Mombasa Road and other barabara later. Ile kwa sasa naomba nirushe usukani kwa wenzangu Brian and Remy and Ken, our guests.
Right. Yeah, so we've need to, of course, wind up on our conversations today, right? And there's a story that is also on the Standard, and it's in relation, it's concerning Babu, the diplomatic ties, you know, and the article here says the building collapse that sparked Tanzania's job bans. Now, one of this, you know, aspects that is highlighted in this story is earlier this year, President Samia Suluhu attended a luncheon to celebrate the heroes and heroines who participated in rescue operations following the incident. This incident in question here was the collapse of a 4-story building in Karioko Market in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, in November 2024. So, of course, there were efforts where, you know, people came together to, you know, rescue those who were affected. But it also highlights that, you know, foreigners were taking, you know, street vendor jobs and the like. And that this, she says that this report had come to her that, you know, their local markets are being affected because of the way, you know, foreigners are coming in and taking over and the like, right? And with this story, you've seen Ruto on US radar from our front page headline. What do you make of this, especially on Tanzania's reaction to, you know, ban foreigners from trading there?
You know, Tanzania has been, since Mama Suluhu took over, Tanzania has been on the radar of slightly, majorly, I would say bad things or negative things. Because if you say you are banning foreigners from operating within your country, but then you have your citizens in other countries, then what are you trying to say? You see, that's the biggest question. Because if she says that she's banning foreigners from operating within Tanzania, then it means those foreigners include Kenyans. And we have Tanzanians in this town doing businesses and enjoying free life. But then if she decides to stop foreigners and deport foreigners, then other countries decide to do the same, then we are going to have serious boundary issues and border tensions, which I think from where I sit as a president, they need to harmonize on how they'll build up their bilateral operations and not go that direction of banning and maybe possibly deporting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let me just say something on Aslafan, then because I see you have the PS coming in. I think the PS also should, when she comes in, she needs to get Kenyans understand proper data. She needs to give us proper data. Who has been receiving money, and how much, and what is the flow, and who is managing the Hustler Fund? Because that's where the problem is, the management of the fund. Because you cannot establish who runs that fund. Just as the Auditor General said that the share accounts are being managed by individuals. Same to Hustler Fund. So Kenyans are borrowing, Kenyans are paying back, but you cannot establish. Government is saying that they have issued loans of close to billions of money. But where's the impact? You've issued billions. To who? Because you cannot feel the billion you're talking about, you cannot feel it on the ground. Okay. Who have you issued the money to? So when the PS steps in, I think she also needs to talk on the impact of that fund and beneficiaries of that. But let me just say something. Brand, there is serious looting of public resources within the structures and the systems of broad-based government. In fact, that's the only umbilical cord that joins the broad-based as it now. Time to loot. And they know. It's in the public domain. Mm-hmm. People are looting, people are scrambling for the few resources meant for Kenyans. The broad-based regime right now, they are scrambling to loot everything. Go away with it. And the Auditor General is on record saying that there's a lot of finances and accounts that cannot be explained. They cannot be substantiated. Why would a county have more than 300 accounts? For what? Doing what? Mm. And if you look at those counties, there are counties that are within and at the center of the broad-based operations. So those are questions and concerns that Kenyans are asking. Mm-hmm. And that's why we are saying that there is a need to restructure the entire system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that you've decided to go there, let's go there.
Yeah.
In terms of restructuring the whole system, and you're talking about, and we'll come to talk about the issue to do with the Hustler Fund, of course, based on the report that was released recently, calling for its abolishment and all that. If we were to restructure the whole system, where exactly do we start? How does it look like in your own assessment as Ken Babu?
We have to restructure the whole system starts from the grassroots level. Most Kenyans do not vote for MPs. Neither do they vote for MCs. People vote for president. People vote for president. That's why you see, if person A just appears like they are not going to contest, there is a region or there's a segment of people who are so unsettled. You know that? Mm-hmm. And the person A I'm talking about here in this question is Raila Odinga. If Raila says today that he's not going to be on the ballot, 90% of MPs in Lower Nyanza will be swept off and we'll have new faces. Mm-hmm. Because many people in that region, and I come from that region, they go to ballot on motivations that Raila will claim the presidency. And in that spirit, they end up voting people who just align with the ODM ticket. So what I'm saying, to restructure the system, we Kenyans, we must now start voting from the MCA level. We vet the MCA, we vet the MP, we vet the senator, the governor. By the time we are reaching the president, we have the bare minimum of the kind of leadership that we are looking at.
And one of the key things that is highlighted within that report is the repayment period, which is a 14-day window, right? And you've seen there's so many defaulters right now. I mean, even Tony here was saying that he's paying his 2,000 from last year today, right? No, one of the key things is we're not having a detail-oriented, project, because someone should have foreseen that something like this can happen for you to be able to say, okay, fine, we may not have everyone ideally being able to pay in the 14-day window, then they will be able to repay at this particular point. Or the money not just being used for household aspects, because the report also indicates that the money is being used to just, for your day-to-day, if you're buying goods, if you're buying this, but it will not benefit or does not benefit your business in the way that it's supposed to. But what's your take on that?
Let me ask you, Remy. I believe at one point you had tried doing some business. Mm. What kind of business can you run with 500 shillings or 700 shillings? Mm. In that time, Now bring yourself into this situation, economic situation where the regime of Kenya Kwanza has put us.
Just to answer, maybe biashara mboga.
Unauliza? Na hii economy yenye Samoei ametuweka. Unaweza fanya biashara gani na 700? My brother, we have to be realistic when talking about these things. That's why.
That's why I'm saying, Ken, we're looking at the detail. That's what I'm saying. From the onslaught, the report indicates that it's supposed someone should have seen that from the beginning.
That's
for you to be able to say that this 14-day window will not be enough to, for people, or rather a lot of people to repay. You see,
someone could have not seen it, or someone saw it but they ignored it because of whoever came up with the idea. Where did we find this Asla thing? Asla was coined by William Samoei Ruto to create a classic war to benefit him at the ballot of 2022. Asla versus Dynasty. He was targeting Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta against himself. That's why he brought up the Asla thing. So when he got to power, he wanted to propagate and keep selling that propaganda and everything around Asla thing. Then he came up with Hustler Fund. So there was no time for somebody even to think about the payment period. In fact, if anybody had thought about it and they advised him, he would have sent him away. Because why are you? That would be like a sabotage. So they did not take time to analyze the amount of payment, the minimum amount to be given, and the period of payment. That's why I say Hustler Fund is a fuliza that has been given a different uniform.
Well, you have just asked a very good question ambao ningependa nikujibu. Manake I have a couple of feedback here on Facebook. Umeuliza tu, how can 500 or 700 help you, right? That's a question ambao umeuliza. Naomba nijibu, nisome 2-3 hapa za Wakenya ambao wamejibu swali letu la siku ya leo ambalo nakuuliza, have you benefited from the Hustler Fund? Mtazamaji, utuambie this morning, je, Hustler Fund ulipata shilingi ngapi na ilikusaidia kwa njia gani asubuhi ya leo mtazamaji? Alafu baadaye we shall be reading more feedback. Ila kwa sasa naomba nisome 2-3 mtazamaji, wacha nikewe hewani nizisome 2-3 kuhusiana na swali la siku asubuhi ya leo. Je, umefaidika kwa njia gani na mpango mzima wa serikali wa Hustler Fund? Anaitwa Victor Mayogi says Kenyans need to trace where a saving of 25 bob is after getting 475 for a loan of 500 loan. That's a question from Victor Mayogi, meaning kama alipata punch 500. Tuko na comment ya Martha Mwihaki Minga says, to be honest, nilichukua nikafanya shopping nayo. All right, that's a comment. That's how that money ilimsaidia. We have a comment here from Norman Owino Kilion who says, I really need this money. All right, ikama bado hajapata. Then tuko na Kaspa Sikuku who says, nilibet nayo wakaninyonya. All right, thank you so much, Alibet. Okay, then we have a comment from Mundu wa Gishuguma. What a name. Mundu wa Gishuguma says, mtu uchukua aje. All right, those are just questions of Kenya. Then the last one here in regards to the question of the day, have you benefited from Hustler Fund? The last comment here is from Bwakatana Hewani, nisome tafadhali. Iliongezwa shida. Oh, iliongezea shida. All right, those are comments from Kenyans. They're trying to answer, how can you work with 700 or 500?
All right.
All right, then later on, I shall be reading from Twitter. Those are just comments from Facebook.
But let me just add something on the issue. You know, I'm asking that question because, Remy, if you go to the slums outside here, there's that Mama Mboga that the Hustler Fund was targeting. That Mama Mboga, let's say they apply for 500 shillings, they're given 475. 475 from where you stay to town is 100 shillings. You've not gone back, eh? You say you have 300. 300. You take skuma of maybe 200. You go back with 100. You see? It does not suffice. You will not come back to the market tomorrow. Okay. You will not be able to pay that money. So you see, you have given 100 and you've been given a loan of 500 shillings with a tax of 700. So you are working to pay the loan plus the tax 1,200. Yeah. It's a conman game.
Okay, in that particular report, it concluded by saying that the Hustler Fund must be scrapped. Reforming it is insufficient, as its foundational flaws, political motivations, and lack of accountability make it unfit for continuation. Do you hold the same thought?
It ought to have been scrapped from the onset. In fact, whoever conceived the idea should be arrested. The thought of it alone is criminal.
But
because let me ask you.
The thought of it was focusing on the people at the bottom of the pyramid.
It was focusing on the people at the bottom. And the people at the bottom are the ones saying iliongezea shida. I'm not the one saying that. It's Kenyans who are saying that hii kitu ilituongezea shida
And
kushinda vile tulikuwa.
so when you have one of the viewers saying, hii kitu huwa unachukua aje, there wasn't enough sensitization on the same, on what the Hustler Fund is supposed to be?
Yeah, like I said, you know, Hustler Fund was conceived and put into action, without of pressure, to settle the egos of specific people. Not even, let me tell you, who coordinates the accounts of Hustler Fund? Let's start from there. If you cannot answer that question, if PS cannot come here and tell us who runs the accounts of Hustler Fund, then there's no need of having the fund. Because the fund is one of the accounts that is being used to siphon money from Kenyans. Bro, Kenyans have borrowed that money. And your CS Oparanya, before he became an expert, I don't know what happens in transition, he became an expert. Before he became an expert, he's on record saying that is your money, that is your taxes, take it and don't return. The moment he became, the moment he was baptized by fire, and he suddenly became an expert. Now he's telling Kenyans, go and take that money and return. Get that? And then government on the other side says that we've waived the debts, and now everybody can now proceed. You see, this is a scheme. This is a conveyor belt to take money from taxpayers and put it to some accounts for some time, and then get to an individual account. So we want to know, if the PS comes here, she should tell Kenyans who is running the Hustler Fund account.
Well, as we wait for...
If we get that answer, then we can now say that this account, this money can now make some sense. But until then, we might be taking money from Kenyans and giving somebody directly to finance their own personal lives.
So you believe there's no justification for the continuation of this particular fund?
There is no
despite the government actually coming out to say
there was no justification for it being in place first.
The government says people are benefiting from the fund.
Which people?
Actually,
and that
on
their
that
attacks
point-
are politically motivated.
Which people are you benefiting?
Not me.
Well, on that
But
point,
Kenya,
yeah,
you know, my brother read some comments here from the ground. They are saying nimeongeza shida, and whoever is asking you how to take it, how to apply the fund, will maybe just want to experience the level of shida atapata akishachukua hiyo pesa.
But should the money have been increased in terms of what you can borrow to start a business with, apart from, instead of 500 shillings for a personal loan, should it have been more? Maybe would it have made a difference?
If the money targeted economic empowerment in terms of job creation and business support, they couldn't have put it at a minimum of 500 shillings. Honestly, you cannot run a business you cannot use 500 shillings as a seed capital right now in this country as it is. 500 shillings, you walk outside here, you are done. And those people, the people that were targeted with this money are the low income earners, to start some businesses and come, the hustlers themselves. And I've given you a scenario. 475. Before you reach town and go back, the capital is done. Unless you want to starve the whole day as you look for some nini.
Well, all right. Umaliza point yako? Ningependa nisome tena whatever jana ambacho Susan Auma Mangeni, that is Principal Secretary, State Department of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development, alisema kuhusiana na Hustler Fund, right? Just to repeat whatever she said yesterday. Hustler Fund is on course and delivered to Kenyans. We disperse daily an average of 68 million on the personal loan product and Kenya shillings 27 million on the bridge product. More than 26 million Kenyans have benefited from disbursement amounting to 72 million, and over 9 million Kenyans are repeat borrowers. What's the take on that point?
The question still goes back to who is disbursing the money? From which account? From which account? Susan Mangeni should tell us they are disbursing the money from this account. Bro, we cannot say that we are disbursing money and we are receiving repayments, and we cannot, Auditor General itself cannot establish which account is running the money. So we have to know who is disbursing the money. Maybe we are running. Maybe we are just we've been put into circles where somebody is doing personal business in this case of Hustler Fund. And let me tell you, in this government as it is, and you saw the crisis at Jogo House, Minister of Education. My brother, let me tell you, most of these government employees, the CSS, the PSS, are not speaking their mind. Because if you do so, that's where your salary ends.
They're being micromanaged.
That's
what
the
you're
point.
saying?
That's the point. They are being micromanaged. They are being guided on what to say, where, how, and when.
By who?
If by whoever put them to that places. If you meet these guys on public forums and you ask them those questions, they will not respond to you because they do not have answers instantly.
Okay. Your mic seems to be...
All right.
Falling.
As we fix the mic, let me just sample
Falling.
some feedback on Twitter. That is X on the question of the day. Have you benefited from the Hustler Fund? Nikona, like 3 comments here from Kenyans. Innocent Trevor, that is Oyugi437, says, since the fund is refunded back to the giver, the correct word is Hustler Loan and not Hustler Fund. That's a comment from Innocent Trevor from the question of the day. Samuel Mokua says, no, that is a scam. I don't believe in it. Then we have Capset who says, yes, Hustler Fund has boosted my operation. This is a very good fund, but was politicized from the word go. That's a comment from Capset1 on Twitter. A comment in regards to the question of the day. Tunakuuliza asubuhi ya leo, have you benefited from the Hustler Fund? And here, he says, yes, Hustler Fund has boosted my operations. This is a very good fund, but was politicized from the word go. Comments from Kenyans from the whole conversation.
Okay. Even as we ponder on that, we're talking about a very high default rate for this particular fund. 68% is quite huge.
Yeah.
Let me get your understanding from this one, because you see, for it to succeed, also there has to be a willingness from the public when it comes to matters repayment.
Sure.
But you have a public that is not willing to repay, and I do maybe get it from the aspect of what you've been able to mention in regards to now the quote-unquote expert in that particular office had said when he was actually in the opposition back then that do not pay this particular money, and because it is your money that actually gets to belong to you. But has this rate of defaulting contributed to what we are talking about today in terms of this particular fund, seem to be failing?
There's no motivation to Kenyans to pay back, because you see, the government has put us in a place where we feel like much has been stolen from us, and we want to get it back. You get me? You want to get it back. So any slight opportunity to get anything from this regime, you take it without apology, and you take it without looking back, because they are stealing from Kenyans day and night. Anytime they find an opportunity, they disappear the money. You see, we go back to the Auditor General, who is the accountant. If the Auditor General can say that there is more than 1.1 billion that passes around e-citizen that cannot be accounted for, get that? And the Auditor General says that there is excessive looting within the broad-based system. Hustler Fund and SHA is amongst the systems through which the government, the people are looting. Because Hustler Fund and SHA, we're talking about 64 billion debts to hospitals. Get that? The same SHA is being managed by a private individual, the account. Hustler Fund, Kenyans are asking, and the questions are these. People are asking, let me just show you. People are asking, is there any evidence of accountability that dictates on who is managing the account for purpose of auditing? There's nobody. We don't know. Me, I don't know. Maybe you know. But I don't know who is managing that. And the same way I don't know, many Kenyans are not aware who is running the Hustler Fund account. And number 2, zero impact. My brother, you cannot say you've disbursed, like you mentioned, 64 million. And the other time they were saying they've disbursed around $1 billion to Kenyans.
Okay.
And everybody is saying there's no impact. I mean, who did you disburse the monies to?
Okay.
That's the question.
There's a comment Tony read.
And Tony said that he has a loan of 2,000.
Okay. Okay.
2,000. Eh?
Suluhia tena maanake sasa hivi
My question is how many times have you borrowed?
Mimi nilikopa hiyo time just for peer pressure. Watu walikuwa wanakopa wengi.
But
Ile trial.
Now on trial he got 2,000.
So 2 years
But
later,
on trial, but you see that's why I agree with when she said there was no time for people to scrutinize this thing and get to know the system how it operates, because if this guy borrowed 2,000.
Shikilia hapo utamalizia point yako after this break, all right? Lakini ni kweli nilikopa, amoi. All right.
Time to take a break here on Amka Kenya. Of course, we come back, we continue this conversation on the state of affairs in the country as far as looting and Hustler Fund and eCitizen are concerned. Don't go too far. Continue engaging us on our socials at K24 TV across social media platforms.